Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today is the beginning of another reading vlog, and we are in the office at work, which is also the middle room where we do all of our sorting. Hopefully you can't see anything on the rota behind me or the calendar. I said last week how my manager noticed not to remove one of the shelves in the shop because that's where I put my phone to record, and then on Saturday she went and did it anyway and put a rail there that she's filled with scarves, but they're tangling into the jacket, so I have every feeling that by tomorrow it's going to have been taken down and put back and be shelves again. But for now we are in the office, which is a tiny bit funny really, because I didn't think that I was going to record this morning. I just had this idea that maybe I shouldn't record every day when I don't have anything to say to you, but here we are. I finished reading A Helping Hand by Celia Dale on Saturday evening, and I have to say, it had a great twist at the end. And that's the only thing that that book has going for it. I think that if you were a fan of Tales of the Unexpected, not just the Roald Dahl book, but the TV show I'm thinking more of, then there is every chance that you would like this book. I also think that had I not read Sheep's Clothing beforehand, I might be giving it a more favourable review. I did like it, and I will go and read more by Celia Dale in future. This just wasn't as good, in my opinion. However, no further editing got done and no writing got done, simply because I was editing the video in the morning and took Sally for a walk. I thought that I would be able to get some reading and editing done in the afternoon, but learned that my sister was coming around for a roast dinner and I had an apple crumble to make. I didn't have an apple crumble to make, I chose to make an apple crumble. I've been meaning to do it for weeks. We've had these apples sat around for ages. Even my mum was talking about how she'd meant to do it, so I did that and it went down well. So she came with her fiance, and as always conversations turned to weddings and falls and misfortunes, and it just feels like you do nothing but chat for the they must have been there for 4 hours. Anyway, it was good, it was enjoyable, and we were talking about the fact that we've all got holidays around October time. So me and my mother go away in 3 weeks, I think, yeah. And then we get back and my sister goes away, but then I'm away again on the Saturday, and she's leaving her dog with me, and I was saying to her, your dog might not get any walks. She might not get any walks because I really will only have the Wednesday free that week. Then it'll be writers group work and then off again. Tell you, this is the highly glamorous life. It's another reason why I was thinking about pushing the book back to next year. What do people think about that? Isabel Kenyon, when I brought this up in an email, once said that's a really fast turnaround time trying to get the novel out and ready by November. What do people think if I did choose not to release the book until February next year? And by that I mean it would be February and it would be events, and hopefully there would be no more things that stopped me from being able to do events for the book. You know, An Eye to Murder came out and we went into a global lockdown, and Royally Doris came out and the Queen died. So every time I bring a book out, something goes wrong event-wise that sees me getting all my events cancelled. So if anyone has any ideas, that would be favourable. I would be grateful. Yesterday's walk with Sal was really a non-event because it was raining, so we even shortened that because she does not like getting wet. Although she has become known as the lazy dog on the towpath, and I don't know how we're going to fight off the stigma. It's not that she's lazy, it's just that she dawdles a bit. She likes to sniff things. She's not a greyhound. And I say this because it's the lady with the greyhound who keeps saying it. She also called my dog old. What's the penalty if you push a septuagenarian in the canal alongside her greyhound? Because if it's only small, I might consider it. Here today, finish at 5. Plans for this evening are to go home edit. Who would have thought such a thing? I am feeling a little bit more hopeful going into this week, but that could just be the painkillers. Actually been going okay this week. So this time last week, I wasn't saying this time last week, I was incredibly stressed about the editing of my novel, but I didn't finish it by Sunday, and yet I seem to have figured out the issues that I had. I think that I was making a really big deal out of these new scenes that I was adding in, and there were only 3 scenes to add, and I kept talking about this. I kept talking about these scenes as though they were the be-all and end-all, the making of this book. But really, they're just extra bits for the reader to get to know specific new characters. So I started writing this scene last week with one of the new characters, and then began to rewrite it. And I realised with both of those 2 things, I'd written everything I needed to write for that scene. It didn't need to be another 2,000 words tacked onto this chapter. It just needed to be a vignette of readers meeting this character. Similarly, that was something I realised for a meeting with them later on. And I think that I figured out where to put another scene so that it just feels like the relationship that Alice is developing with these characters feels more natural than her going through them after 180 pages. Because obviously, to me, they knew each other more because in the original draft, they'd seen each other more than they ended up doing. And the big climactic scene that I was having an issue with, where Alice confronts the person she believes to be the culprit, I had so many issues with this because it got so convoluted. And what I was doing was I was looking at the entire document of 70,000 words thinking, how do I change this? When I took the entire chapter out and edited it separately, and I was like, there we go. That's all we needed to do. That it broke it down and made it manageable, which I think that giving myself the deadline and trying to enforce it was a bad idea. And also, like, reminding myself that it's been so long now. I think that people have given up caring. It's sad to say. I think that when it comes to Alice Valentine and publicising it next year, I think that I'm trying to focus on advertising process that's going to relaunch the first book, because it was hit with so many difficulties with the pandemic and then not being able to go to events, but also getting the final Doris book out. See, if I hadn't brought An Heir to Murder out, then the gap between releasing books would have been longer than I wanted it to be. I did always set out to try this thing of always releasing a book every 2 years, and in the last year, that's changed to once a year. I think 2024 is going to be the first time in a while I haven't released a book. There we go, these things happen. And so I started a jigsaw as well. Basically, I have read a lot more of The Vicar of Bullhampton by Anthony Trollope, but another thing that I've been doing is listening to the audiobook. So a few weeks back, when I was reading The Dragon Reborn by Robert Jordan, I was listening to that and getting through it in every single spare moment because I was so invested in the story. And so I decided to do the same with The Vicar of Bullhampton. Not because I am enjoying it and I'm so heavily invested, but because I do want to be finished with it. I was supposed to have read this in August, and I let me make this clear. I did not realise how far into September we were. Every single document I've saved at work that has to have a date on it has been saved into August's documents, because I have not got used to it being September at all. For me, August has just been lasted for the last 8 weeks. I can't explain it. Honestly, I don't know what's gone on in my head, but September has just not existed for me this year. I have absolutely no idea where it went or what happened. I didn't recognise that we were so far into the month until last week. The Vicar of Bullhampton, I said last week how I was reading it slowly, treating it more like a serial and enjoying it that way, and I was. But I've also reached the point where I want to be done with it because I want to get the Claverings read, and I've got 2 more to read in October, which I will be talking about in another video. Yeah, with the Vicar of Bullhampton, I have to say that I haven't been as invested in it as I have been with other books by Trollope, and I think that comes down to the fact that I really don't like the protagonist. I don't like the vicar. And obviously we follow this character who's quite pious, but it's almost like he's trying to enforce his views and his opinions upon his parish. And he has these moments of philosophy where he recognises that sometimes he ought to keep out of things, but then it's like just the way he behaved. And I like the fact that another character called him out on his obstinacy in a recent chapter that I read. It's got to an interesting part that I knew it was going to get to, because somebody blurbs this and gave this away, but it's also part of the book that didn't happen until 300 pages in, and now that's all we're talking about. And it does have this quality like a soap opera or a drama, in that we have a lot of different narratives going on. We have a love story with Mary Lowther and some other guy, and we have somebody who's actually interested in her, and then we have the vicar who's inveigled himself into everyone's lives, and he couldn't get Mary Lowther to get with the man he wanted her to get with. He couldn't get Sam Brattle to stop being a criminal, and now Sam might be getting done for murder, and Carrie Brattle's a prostitute. And it's kind of like, yeah, I read it and I'm reminded of soap operas, and I can understand why it wasn't so well looked upon in the Victorian era, but I also have read that that was due to other things as well. And I have heard that Trollope did not like plot, so I can also understand why it feels a bit rambling at times. But also it's a Victorian novel, and they were renowned for being a bit rambling and going off on tangents. I think that I've got so used to the Barsetshire Chronicles and the characters over there and the way that they're written, and there's this sentimentality there, this pastoral sense. There's something there that I really enjoy, and I feel like I'm part of a community when I read that, and I really like hearing about everyone's lives with the Barsetshire books. But the Vicar of Bullhampton, I think that there's just so many unlikable characters, and I don't need to like every single character, but I do like somebody to sympathise with. I've recognised that, and unfortunately I find every character here decidedly unsympathetic. But maybe Trollope was just writing a warts and all style drama here. I don't know. It's not my favourite Trollope, but it's definitely well written, if that makes any sort of sense. So yeah, so writing's going well. I'm hoping to actually finish the book by the end of September now. Then I'll send the book to Dane, and then we'll see what happens. Then I'm going to be doing this jigsaw and listening to a bit of Trollope today. Got to walk the dog, and then this evening I am going to be talking to the Italian lady. Quite a busy day ahead of me, but that's always the way when I get to Wednesday. It's why Tuesdays I tend not to do anything, because Tuesday's the one day that I treat like a weekend, similar to Sunday sometimes, but Sunday kind of get a bit busy if we have family members coming around. So Tuesday is the day for me where I can just languish in silence if I so wish. And so that's what I did yesterday. Silence, writing, reading, walking around the forest. For the first time in ages, I walked around the forest up to the benches, which is the walk that I always used to do on a Tuesday. And I did not see a single soul, and I was thrilled by it. It was the calm, the silence, the quiet that I needed, a complete converse to what was there last week. This was the walk I wanted to do last week and wasn't able to do so because it was ram-jammed full of people and there was nowhere for me to park. So I was happy with that, and also did not slip and injure my knee. I've realised that I've actually damaged my left knee a lot more than I thought I had, but I can contend with it. I have exercises, I have painkillers, I'm going to be fine. Yeah, back to the writers group tomorrow, then work, Sunday. Sometimes I question the regularity of my life, the way that it's just on this same doldrums every single day. I understand why I like fantasy novels so much when these sorts of things occur. Yeah. Anyway, I will see you on Friday. With the tiniest bit of ingenuity, we are back in the shop. It is Friday, and since last we spoke, properly finished editing Mistakes Mean Murder now. I went back and found Joy's notes as well to go over the book with, and discovered that I'd implemented all of her changes, which I thought I had, but there was just part of me that remembered notes on the second page. But it turned out that the notes on the second page were nothing to worry about really, and were spelling errors that I'd already caught. So in the grand scheme of things, the editing of Mistakes Mean Murder is done. Me being me, I still wonder whether to give it a final read through on Sunday on my day off, but I haven't properly decided that yet. And I'm nearly finished reading The Vicar of Bullhampton. I hoped to do it on Wednesday, but got into the editing mood instead and wanted to just finish what I was doing there. So it worked out well anyway, so that's done. It should feel like a weight off my shoulders, and it did do. It's just the idea of now sending it today and then possibly going through and editing again. It's one of those things, it feels like a constant want of trying to get it perfect and then wondering whether anything can actually ever be perfect. As I say, I didn't finish reading The Vicar of Bullhampton, and unfortunately I think I'm reaching one of those points where I'm not liking it as much as I have done other Anthony Trollopes, and therefore I'm comparing it to every other Anthony Trollope that I have ever read. It does what a lot of Victorian novels do, which is to ramble and to tell you stuff that you didn't really need to know, but it's like there was one chapter where it's Carrie Brattle's journey, and it's literally her walking somewhere, and I didn't need any of this. It could have been told in 2 sentences. Where was Carrie Brattle? She was here. I didn't need to know how she got there. I didn't need to know that she stopped off in a pub and she had a bit of cheese and bread. I didn't need to know that. And I know this is the thing with Victorian literature, it's just that I find it stupendously annoying when I'm already finding the book a little bit irksome, because it felt like it had one very nice Victorian tone when it began, and then decided to throw that all out of the water and just go on with like this very plodding tone. I'm not the biggest fan of The Vicar of Bullhampton, really. It's the first time I've read an Anthony Trollope, and I felt so mixed about it, where there've been some parts where it's been so pacey and I've really been enjoying it, and I adored the start of this book. It's the whole reason it won the first line battle, and going on and reading it and feeling like there was this magic quality that I find in Victorian literature, and then to carry on and it just become this rather dry tale. And I think the problem is as well that the vicar himself, Fenwick, is somebody I just don't like. Like, I can understand why the Marquis is doing stuff that he's doing to him, because I'm like, you're infuriating. He is so certain that he is always right that he refuses to allow anybody else's opinions. He refuses to give credence to anybody else's opinions, and it frustrates me so much. And yet he's described as doing the right thing, and I think that's one of the things that's annoying me about the book as well, is my sensibilities don't equate with the Victorian sensibilities. So stuff is happening that I get annoyed about, and then I get annoyed that that ever did happen, and I'm just yeah. Anyway, that's where I am. I will be finishing The Vicar of Bullhampton, then I will be going into the Claverings, and then I will be going into my Victober TBR. So it means that a lot of the books that I was going to read in September have been pushed back again. Outrageous by Paul Baker has now been, it's become, as they'd say on Books and Bound, a mashed potato book, because I have put that book on so many TBRs and not read it. Again, that's because the subject infuriates me, and I don't like my books to make me feel angry. Anyway, plans for today. It's wet, it's rainy. If anybody doesn't work on a Friday, you've got the perfect day to stay at home and read. Unfortunately, I'm in work, and the book that I'm reading I wouldn't necessarily want to go and hunker down in a corner with anyway. I've just seen this film here, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, and I've been meaning to rewatch this all week. I got a want to watch it on Wednesday and I didn't do it, and then I thought I'd do it last night and I didn't because Agatha All Along was on. Do I throw everything out and try and watch it tonight? I don't think I will, but it feels like it's a reminder. Anyway, see you tomorrow. Are you currently leaning against a CD of Robbie Williams' appearance at Nebworth? Yes, I will work out the lighting over here eventually. Currently I have a very bright hand, but it's Saturday, and that means that we are here to round things off. I disappeared for a moment to see if I could find an extension cord to fix this whole situation with the lighting, but we don't do much on this channel in by the way of being professional and looking professional. I mean, I'm currently filming this at work. You're on a shelf to sell CDs. I think we know the level of my professionalism now. So I didn't finish reading The Vicar of Bullhampton last night because I chose to read some more September pages from Nigel Slater's second volume of Kitchen Diaries, which I have to say, at the moment, preferring to The Vicar of Bullhampton. I think it's just because a few weeks ago I said how I was enjoying reading The Vicar of Bullhampton slowly, and that's still the case, is that I think this is a book best digested in small parts. However, I also want the book to be finished, so I get this frustration there. I think that also with me I don't know if it's fair for me to compare this to Anthony Trollope's other works, but it feels a bit bloated, as I said yesterday, and I haven't lost that feeling. And my lack of care for what has gone on with the characters has expanded further the more I've gone on. I think it's because there was an aspect of the story that I was really interested in, which was this possible murder, and Trollope decided to go and focus on the romance aspect of it, which is fine, that's what Trollope's known for, but I felt like I'd read that story a lot before. And then we go to this other part of the tale, which I knew was going to be introduced because I'd seen it mentioned in a blurb, but it doesn't actually happen until the 250 page mark, is almost resolved at page 300. And then we veer off to talk about Carrie Brattle walking home from somewhere. It's just like, ugh, I was just incensed at that point. And I will finish this tonight and tomorrow, and it'll be out of my hair before October. Then it's the Claverings, and then I go on to my Victober TBR. I'd already made that decision. I also read further Elizabeth Taylor short stories. I say further, but that's a lie, because I accidentally read one that I'd already read. I'm not keeping a bookmark in this, and I was trying to remember the point that I'd been at before, and I thought, well, I've read that one. Did I read the next one? And I didn't realise that I'd read it until I got to the end of it and I recognised the ending, which was annoying. And it was annoying because I was thinking about how magnificent of a story it was, and maybe it was because I didn't feel like that the first time, because the story prior to this had captured my attention a bit more. I don't know, but yeah, reread one of Elizabeth Taylor's short stories last night, so I'm not any further along with that collection. That's that, I think. We did get some news yesterday that the volunteer who's supposed to be in this morning watching the till is ill, but she was the only volunteer I have for a till on Saturday, and that means it's going to be me and one volunteer until 3 o'clock when she leaves, and then I might be on my own for the last hour and a half of the day. We'll have to see how things go, but it does mean a day on the till, and I'm annoyed about that because I'd hoped that today would be the first Saturday in a long time that we could start taking donations again, because we've not been taking them on a Saturday, and I think we're getting the reputation as the shop that never accepts donations, and I don't like that. Part of me thinks, do I just open our container at the back and ask people to throw everything in there and I'll sort it on Monday? But I don't know, it's It's one of those where I'm like, this decision is above my pay grade. So that's where I am currently. Anyway, if you have read The Vicar of Bullhampton and would like to talk about it, then please feel free to do so in the comments. Alternatively, talk about anything that I have talked about this week. How has your week gone? Have you achieved anything? Have you not achieved anything? Have you just enjoyed yourself? Have you not enjoyed yourself? Let's converse. I hope that you got something out of this video, because until next time, that is all